What?
Can you guys hear me?
We
Yes.
got you, man. That's wild. Let me kill this music. I didn't realize you were having such bad thunderstorms. Where do you call home? Whereabouts are you?
We're in a little town called Boonville, Indiana.
Okay.
It's just east of Evansville. Like we're right along the Ohio River.
Okay.
Yep. I did a bunch of print publicity one time for Applebee's through a company I worked for, all over all kinds of small towns. In Indiana was the project, and I've heard of that town actually. So
Yeah, it's I want to say it's about 11,000 people. It's a little tiny town. It's close knit community.
Oh,
yeah,
that's perfect.
Actually, quite a few reptile people here.
really,
It's rural, yeah, farm country, but there's a lot of reptile keepers here.
it's far rural and farm country here, but not much in the way of reptile keepers here. Lynn,
Yeah,
thanks for rolling through. We got the TikTok crowd. Dang, Brandon, you got
Yeah.
the TikTok. There's a good handful of
They're
people.
they're
That's some pretty
slowly
good.
migrating over here to the YouTube.
That's awesome. And of course, Mr. Marines 911, a friend of ours we have in common. I know he's a big fan of your projects, and he really kind of opened my eyes to some of the stuff you had done. And I dug into your past, and I was blown away at some of the stuff you've done, Brandon. It's really cool. Tell us about like how you got started and what was your early passion projects?
so I really got started. It's hard to believe I've been doing this for 33 years now.
Yeah.
Wow.
I kind of cut my teeth on Burmese pythons, king snakes, a lot of colubrids back in the early and mid 90s. Then around the end of the 90s, I sort of jumped into green tree pythons pretty heavily.
End of the
Green
night.
trees, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm a big
It was,
guy, and Greg Maxwell, and everything that went on. Trooper Walsh,
yeah,
some of that legacy stuff, and how they first started coming to the U.S. I believe in '75. So that time frame,
yeah,
people that aren't chondro nerds like myself and yourself, that time frame is the Wild West. It was all learning. People were incubating
right,
eggs in glass jugs, and they stood on the left foot and
yeah,
they tapped their right hand with a piece of grandma's
Right.
quilt from her lucky sweater.
yeah.
And that's how they
Hanging, stuck together clutches inside pantyhose, hanging from a a perch inside an incubator so no water would touch the eggs. And,
I mean, you
I
were in the
hatched,
infancy, man. That is so cool to be part of it back then.
yeah, I was told back then that chondro eggs had to be kept,
In a balloon.
exactly a certain way. And I hatched several clutches in chicken incubators.
Yeah.
And I was told back then that you can't do that. And I was like, well, I
Well, you're
did it.
doing it, and they
Yeah.
had success.
Yeah, yeah. So it was, I got to know all those guys through the forums, and became pretty good friends with Rico Walder. Um, so I mean, there was really a nice chondro community back then. And when Facebook kind of took over 10 or 12 years ago, it kind of spread everyone out. And I'm starting in the last couple of years. I've kind of reconnected with a few of those people
Really?
that I haven't seen or talked to in a decade or more. And that was all pretty much because of the Facebook groups that kind of put an end to the king snake forums, and
Yeah.
the chondro forums and all that stuff.
And that king snake forum was pretty much the only route. That was the best one. That's what we had in those days.
Yeah, yep. That and fauna
And
classifieds
fauna. That's right, fauna.
and King Snake was kind of the pinnacle of the group chats back then.
Right.
Um, but then everybody and their brother and their mom and their baby cousin Tracy started a group on Facebook, and you still see 10 new groups pop up every day.
Oh yeah. Didn't who was it? Bill Stiegel started some kind of a chat board as well. Wasn't that him sometime in the 90s? Am I trying to think?
I
There was
I don't remember Bill uh, involved in green trees back that far.
that far back.
Um,
Might have been later. Might have been in the early 2000s. I'm thinking. I remember he's
Greg Schrader,
yeah.
he was big. He had the MVF. Gosh, who else? There's so many people. John Romano. And I mean, there was we would get together once a year and just have a barbecue from all the different chondro breeders from around the country. Had a couple of arboreal symposiums in St. Louis that were really fun. Got to do behind the
Really,
scenes
that's my
tours.
hometown.
Yeah, yeah, I love St. Louis.
That's awesome. What's up, Jen?
Yeah.
Thanks for saying hi, Tanya. So this chondro, I mean, back then it was only imports. I mean, you were able to incubate eggs in a chicken incubator, even though people said you couldn't.
Yeah.
Um, how
Well,
many
talk about
clutches?
bringing them in imports. Like, how did you go
Yeah.
about getting them?
I just kind of most of the import animals that I ended up with were purchased from kingsnake.com.
Okay. Okay.
I would see an animal that I liked, and I had success with wild caught imports, and as you mentioned, um, working with some of the very first animals from those 75 imports that went to the Sedgwick County Zoo. That bloodline was the very first bloodline that I actually worked with. Was that Sedgwick County Zoo line? I picked up a pair of adults from Craig Trumbauer at the 1999 uh, NRBE, which moved to Daytona in 2000. So I
Oh,
picked up a pair from him.
huh.
And my goal at the time was that I just wanted green tree pythons. And there really wasn't anything crazy back then. It was just you could get what you could get, and that was
Right,
it.
right.
Um, but I had just a plain Jane green looking female, but she was massive. I want to say she was about 2,000 grams, which is very
Dude,
large. Yeah, she was big.
that ain't no
She
ball
actually
python.
lived.
That's a
No,
huge
And
green
she
tree.
and she was wild
yeah,
caught or supposedly wild caught.
no, she was
No,
captive bred from the
from that
Sedgwick
zoo.
County
Okay,
Zoo
from the zoo.
animals.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Okay.
um, but she ended up living to 22 years old.
Mm,
The male from that pair lived till he was about 24. I got lots of animals from them.
Wow.
I got lots of babies from their offspring. There's an animal in the more complete chondro
mm,
in the high yellow section called named Summer,
mm.
and she was produced from that pair.
Huh.
Arguably one of the best high yellow chondros ever produced.
I got the book. I'll have to go look. I hope I
Yeah,
can meet Mr. Maxwell in person and get his autograph. I really want to run into him. So maybe this.
very very nice guy. I've been to his house. We had a chondro fest at his house
I'm sure he
back
wasn't that
in.
far from you. He was in Ohio, right?
Yeah, he was about 6 hours away, but it was worth the trip
Oh
to
yeah,
get to see his collection in person and have it. We all had a barbecue at his house. It was a good time.
yeah. I got to set up an appointment with Marshall. He's like 5 hours away, and
Yeah,
I'd like to do a show
I've
from
been to
his.
Marshall's. Yeah, I've been to Marshall's quite a bit. I used to tour in a band, and we played Birmingham quite a bit. And he would always come out and see us play.
You play some fish
And
for him or some dead or something.
no, no, I know he's the hippie type. So,
He loves
but
it.
No, he would always come out and hang out with the band and come see us when we were in
Hell
town.
yeah. Well, that's so cool. Like you're just part of the OG's legacy people from Chondro, you know. And well, look at the name Chondro. I mean, scientifically,
Yeah,
we moved
yeah,
past it, and yet
yeah,
even in Greg's book, you know, from 2005, the more complete Chondro, he's like, yeah, we'll never change. And here we are, 20 years later, and he was right.
yeah,
We still say Chondro, and
yeah,
we've moved on to Marilia, Viridius, and then so on and so forth. But we stuck with that name. It just rolls off the tongue better.
yeah,
You can't help it.
yeah. I agree. I agree.
Were you still keeping berms back then, or were you multi-species, or how dedicated did you get to green trees? You spoke of it as
Um,
like I wanted to, so past tense to have only chondros, but clearly you didn't go that path. So what did you
back
do?
for about, I'd say for about 7 or 8 years, I had probably 90% of my collection was green tree pythons. I probably had about 50 animals at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then in the early 90s, I dabbled in Florida king snake morphs and created some, world's first stuff with that,
You kind of
producing
do
some
that.
pretty rare morphs.
That's kind of your calling card. Like you go
Yeah,
in low key and do stuff that's like
but
new, and then don't really. I mean, I don't see you as a boisterous person. You just kind of let the work speak for itself, and that's really cool.
yeah, I'm not one of those guys that's taking selfies and that kind of stuff. I let the animals do the talking, and I work with the stuff that I like, and I'm not. I make a living at this, but I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the passion. It's always where my heart's been.
Yeah,
I work with stuff that if I if I don't sell it, I get to go in my building and look at it whenever I want to.
right. There, Marines. Camille says, the urban camel. The urban camel. He's a
Yeah,
big old fan of that one, man. I know.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's
I actually have his one of his urban camos here that he couldn't get to eat, and I told him he brought it to me at Tinley in March, and I told him I said I'm going to take this thing in my snake building and I'm going to set it on a table and I'm going to throw a rat in there. It's going to take it right away. And sure enough, it's taken every meal that I've given it with no hesitation. He was thinking that he was doing something wrong, and I was like, no, it's just a ball python being a ball python.
yep.
so funny.
But sometimes you look at them wrong, and they'll go off feed for 6 months.
Yeah, that's so. I hate it when they do that, but yeah, that'll wear you out, and then they'll suddenly turn back on, and then they'll be a great eater. But
Yeah,
oh man,
yeah.
so you worked with the Florida king snakes and the chondros. I know Rep from Rep the Nation. He brought up, and it's an awesome animal. I used in some of your promos. I saw it, my jaw hit the floor. The carpondro, that was
hmm
the cream and the maroons and the reds, the barring. Tell me about that animal. How was Carpondro received? Like, what year was it you created it? Did you catch
Uh,
flack? Like, tell me about that whole breeding and how did you get that animal?
so that animal was half of that Sedgwick County Zoo bloodline. The male was a really vibrant green with a nice blue stripe. He had sort of faint yellow diamonds along the spine. Um, and I had an Irian Jaya carpet back then that I had nothing, you know, no mate for her. So I just put the two together. Um, they locked several times. This was back in, I want to say 2010
Okay.
is when I produced those animals. Um, so that snake, that male would pretty much breed a rope if it smelled like a female. So it was, very easy to do. I produced two clutches.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, as far as getting flack for doing that,
Because some
you're
people,
always going to get it.
yeah,
When you're doing hybrids, you're always going to get some
Right.
criticism for it. Even though none of those animals looked like carpets or green trees, they were a perfect mix of the two. Um, and as far as size, the the IJ carpets. would max out about 5 or 6 feet. Chondros are going to max out about 5 or 6 feet. These
Right.
animals ended up being 7 to 8 feet as adults. Um, I was blown away by how big they got.
So we thought it was
Uh,
going to be that range you said there, but really it was one size plus the other one. So they were both 4 foot.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And Bill Stegall actually has one of those animals that I produced.
Yeah.
I ended up
Was that
selling.
juvenile colors? Is there an OCC? I don't know a lot about carpondros. I really don't.
It's that animal was really high yellow, but that Sedgwick County Zoo line, it produced a lot of really high yellow animals anyway. So
Mm.
I don't know if that had anything to do with the adult coloration of those carpondros or not. Um, but I did breed some of those back to the green trees and produced 75% that
Mhm.
turned out spectacular.
Wow.
Produced some high yellows with blue speckles and all sorts
Oh,
of like
shit.
funky different colors. Um,
Really? No
yeah,
fertility issues,
yeah.
no complications. I mean, anything that you're like, oh man, this wasn't really.
No, the babies were bigger, hardier. I started them off on hopper mice, so they took big meals from the start.
Mhm.
Has
This-
anybody else? I mean, you seem like you just did it. Has anybody else done it since?
Yeah, a good buddy of mine, Jeff Herman, he's kind of known for boas and rainbow boas. He's been producing them
What's up, Amanda?
steadily for 6 or 7 years now. He's got 3 generations, I think.
Huh.
Um, he's not using the same carpet. He's using jungle carpets, but he's still producing some
Nice
spectacular
stuff.
animals.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
I'm not
he's
familiar
got
with the carpet you had
yeah,
used.
he's produced several clutches of 75% green trees from them. So
Huh.
he's doing really well with them too.
That's very cool.
I don't.
Thanks for sharing that info because there's not a lot of people I can ask. I mean, I just don't know people that keep them or. So that was definitely
Yeah,
those were wild.
they're pretty much I, I kind of say they're the perfect mix of a green tree and a carpet. You can keep them arboreally or in a terrestrial setup. They really don't care. They will perch most of the time, but they'll also go to the ground and be fine in a tub or a rack if you were wanting to do that.
Wow.
Dude, that's the ultimate feel. Well, how far
Yeah,
as handleability, right? Getting them out and working with them, it just varies on the
never
snake.
had an issue. Never had an issue with them. Even as babies, the problem I think a lot of people don't realize with green tree pythons is it's very difficult to get babies to strike. They just don't want to bite anything. And I've always said that's why they're so expensive. Is because I couldn't tell you how many babies or even clutches I lost just because they refused to bite or eat anything.
Yeah.
It is a pain to get them to eat.
You still have chondros now?
I have
Yeah.
one male that I'm raising up to hopefully start producing the carpondros again, and I'm really trying to reduce my collection a bit
Yeah.
so I can work with more green trees, and I'm getting into womas and different
Yeah.
species that I haven't worked with yet. Um, Making more room for tortoises,
Yeah.
different things like that.
Yeah, those baby tortoises in the picture. Did you see those, Dread? The bait on his
Oh yeah,
Instagram.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Did
did.
you
I
or
got
those
them right
ones
here.
you
Yeah,
produced? I mean, tell us about tortoise life.
Yeah,
That's very radical.
yes.
cherry
So
heads.
so we've been breeding redfoots for about 7 years now. I don't know if you can hear it, but they're behind me, like grunting and breeding as we're talking right now. They're nonstop. Um, but yeah, we my wife and I had bought two baby cherry heads at Tinley 11 years ago, um, and that one female became productive last year. So at 10 years old, she started producing. We've got a handful of animals that are 20 to 25 years old. We still have the very first baby that we had 7 years ago.
Nice. Wow.
And we probably get upwards of 50 or 60 eggs a year, and we'll probably hatch 30 to 40.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Well, how's
But
turtle egg incubation? Right, tortoise egg incubation. I've never fooled with it, so
I stick them on orchid moss and put them in with my ball pythons. They incubate at 89
the
degrees.
same. The same.
And
Okay,
yeah,
just the moss is your
yeah,
difference. Okay.
Hmm.
yeah.
We got a
And
good
the
question.
only reason, yeah, sure, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, Mission Morse had a really good question. How he has a 50-50 carpondro.
Hmm.
It's almost 4. They have no idea what sex it is. Any tips on that?
As far as sexing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, I always probe them. If they're 100 grams, they're safe to probe. The carpondros, I probed those pretty much right out of the egg because they were, in my opinion, they were of the same kind of size and weight as a baby carpet would be. So I would sex those out of the egg with the probe.
Hmm.
I never really recommended popping them just because the tail is a little bit more fragile.
Breaking the spine. Yeah.
But yeah, but a small probe. A lot of people are scared of probing. I was taught by a mentor of mine 30 some odd years ago how to probe snakes, and it's really not as difficult as people make it out to be.
Right. Yeah. So I've always heard the joke: you don't know you have a female chondro until she's on eggs. You know,
Right.
because
Well,
people aren't necessarily skilled at probing, or they're looking for sperm plugs that never happen, or
yeah,
maybe they're happening and you just don't see them because there's that whole option
and
too. And,
that's kind of funny you say that. Back in 2002 or so, I purchased a Biak. It was bought as a male from Underground Reptiles, and I knew what I was getting. An animal coming from that company. They don't have the greatest reputation, but I was confident in my ability to get it cleaned up, and it came in just in phenomenal shape. But this animal was sold as a male, so I raised it up and spent a couple of years feeding it up, paired it with several females, and just didn't get any interest out of him.
hmm,
So I thought, after 3 years of pairing this snake and wasting a lot of time, I decided to put a male in with him just to get a little bit of combat. And with chondros, that's kind of dangerous because they will like fight to the death. It's one species of python that will absolutely kill each other if you're not careful and you're not keeping a close eye on them.
really?
But yeah, yeah, they get pretty vicious.
Huh?
But so I stuck a male in with this snake, this male, and 30 minutes later they were locked. So and the funny thing is I probed this snake, this male, but it was ended up being a female, but she probed 11 scales deep on both sides of her cloaca, and that's even deeper than most males will probe. But
So
there
she had
was no
unusual anatomy.
resistance.
Do you
Yeah,
think?
yep. So when they sexed her before, they just thought, yeah, they probed it, and sure enough, it's a male as deep as a probe goes. But
Hmm.
nope, she ended up laying several clutches for me, and it ended up being one of the largest females I'd ever had.
Wow. Well, it worked out.
Yeah, yeah, it worked out better in my favor.
Right.
Isn't that
It,
something?
it took a little longer than you wanted, but at least it worked out for you. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Do you did I correct me if I'm wrong? Maklots? Did you work with Maklots pythons?
Yep. I still work with Maklots. I started working with them back in the mid '90s,
Wow.
and back then they were sort of considered, junk snakes. There wasn't a lot of interest in them, but I always thought that they had their, a subtle beauty to them. I still think they're gorgeous animals. They have a tremendous rainbow sheen, kind of like a Brazilian rainbow. Um, they're a medium sized python that
Mhm.
gets 8 feet long. My adults that I have now are about 8 feet, um, about as big around as my forearm. So they've got some girth to them, but they're extremely intelligent,
Hmm.
um, very calculated in what they do. So it's not like a ball python that's just going to kind of sit there. That whenever you open their cages, they'll come out and they'll just kind of sit their head on the edge of the tub and just kind of sit and look. Very calculated, very smart animals.
Really?
Hmm.
That and so you've been keeping them a long time. I mean, that's definitely a commitment there. You know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah,
just because you were chasing anything other than the pure enjoyment of learning about that animal that
yeah,
clearly many people
yeah.
don't keep. That's why I was wondering.
No,
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I didn't realize that you'd had them that long, man.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
So you're
Work with a
narrowing down to
handful of bloods.
you got a handful of bloods. I think Marines 911
Yeah,
must. You got some awesome blood pythons.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love Brazilian rainbows myself. Yeah, Marine said he doesn't want to mention the Brazilian rainbows, but I got a 1.2. I love them. It's my jam.
Yeah. My buddy Jeff that does the carpondros, he's been breeding Brazilians since before I've known him. I've known him for 30 years, and
Wow,
he's got some amazing Brazilians.
wow. You might have to get me in touch with him. I learn a thing or two.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Learn
Yeah,
for
he's
sure.
got he's got so many different generations of Brazilians that he's raised and produced.
That's awesome. Wow. Yeah. My girl's of size. My male's still too young. I got a medium female that's coming up behind her, but I've got one
Yeah.
girl that's up to size, spreading urates, but the boy just ain't there yet. So
Yeah. Those young kids that
yeah,
just don't quite get it yet.
yeah, right. And boas are better to wait and be patient anyhow to rush them moms.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
when you're going forward and when did you never mentioned ball pythons? I don't think once yet. So that's really a big kind of, I think, a drawing. I guess maybe because it's a big part of the pet market segment, it draws eyes
Hmm.
to you. Clearly, you're very diversified, and people are like pushing
Um,
more and more to be diversified. Like, when did you get into ball pythons? And before we even talk about your namesake projects, the things that you are known for, what got you into them with this varied background?
I actually have been breeding ball pythons since 1993. Um, Back when normals were pretty much all you could get other than albinos, and I was a young, you know, 19-year-old kid who's broke with no money, and I raised up some imports that I picked up at an Indianapolis show,
Hmm.
and I started breeding those. Um, but it was the piebald is what really got me into ball pythons. When they were first proven genetic in 1997, I was actually working for a commercial reptile breeder at the time. Um,
Awesome.
so this guy, my job was to take care of 1,500 snakes, and I sort of amassed a collection of my own back then. Working at a snake breeder that could get pretty much anything you wanted, you end up with a sizable collection of your own after a little bit of time. Um,
Yeah.
but I ended up buying my first het pieds in 2002, um, because I want to say back then pieds were 10K,
Wow.
um,
Yeah.
Hmm.
and being young and broke, I wasn't going to spend 10K on a pair of ball pythons or one ball python for that matter.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and I wanted a pied, so I spent 4K on a pair of het pieds. That's what they were back then.
Wow.
Um, so then, you know, 3 years later, I produced 4 pieds, held a pair of those back, um, got 4 more the next season, sold those off, picked up a few more morphs, and just kind of started expanding from that point
Huh?
on. So I focused on pieds for the most part over the last 20 plus years.
Awesome. And then another testament we hear from a lot of people that really make it in this profession is following a passion. Like you find a lane, do something really well you're known for, and here you are.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I tell people that are just starting to get into the ball pythons and reptiles in general, not to get too distracted, because it's easy to get distracted by, well, so and so just produced this and that's awesome, and these guys produce this and that's awesome, I want that and whatever this guy's doing, and they kind of lose focus on their own ideas, and they're kind of chasing trends rather than keeping what they enjoy most.
Absolutely.
And I've always said, if you're chasing the trend, you're already too late.
yeah, ain't that the truth? Yeah,
I prefer to just kind of keep the stuff that I enjoy, and if other people enjoy it, great. If not, I still get to look at it every day.
man, such a good philosophy. You can never drill that in enough, like because it's so easy to be like a kid in the candy store. Oh yeah, this one, this project,
Yeah,
and before you know it, you don't have much of any project.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Take inspiration, but kind of take it in your own direction as well.
Man, I didn't realize you. See, we got to talk about these other species, and so I had no idea you were into ball pythons from '93 because that's when I got into reptiles. That was about the year.
Hmm.
Then I was 13, 14, I guess, and that's when I got into them. And I worked at a reptile shop. Then I was a keeper at a St. Louis Zoo in the children's zoo area. And a whole stable of animals and things that I had. It was blah blah blah. And then I did reef keeping commercially for a decade between
That's
St.
awesome.
Vincent and Clearwater, Tampa, St. Pete area. So the two big markets. But I got out of it for a decade, 15 years, and I got back into it now, going on 10 years. I got back into reptiles. So you've just kept your foot on the gas pedal this whole time since it's about '93, which is when I first
Y-
started owning my own and going to shops and just
Yeah,
away.
I took a kind of a hiatus around '97
Mm-hmm.
for probably about a year. Working for a commercial breeder, I just got so burnt out because I had a collection at home of probably 250 animals.
Oh, yeah.
So I would go to work 10 hours a day
Thanks,
and
Marines.
then come home and work for 2 or 3 hours a day. And
Yeah.
I just got so burnt out that when I quit that job, I sold everything that I had, with the exception of 4 carpet pythons and 2 king snakes.
Wow.
And there were the reason I left that job is because the owner and I had a dispute, about a no compete contract, which I'd been working there for a year and a half, and I had animals that he didn't have that were pretty rare as far as the the national reptile market. So back then, what it was I had axanthic Florida king snakes.
Mm-hmm.
The year that I quit working there, I was the only person in the country that had babies that year. Um, so he was trying to get me to only be able to sell through him, and he would set the price on what he would pay me. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So I kind of severed that tie, and you know I, I took a I took a pause for about a year and
Yeah.
kind of took a step back and reassessed what I wanted to do as far as reptiles.
Yeah. That's a good
And at
word.
that point,
Reassess. Yeah.
I sort of jumped feet first into Florida king snake morphs, and did a lot of work with different Florida kings. Stuff that isn't seen in the hobby even today. Um, back then I was working with a white face Florida King that's just kind of disappeared. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with the hyperxanthic Florida Kings.
I am
I,
not. I am
Mm-mm.
not that
Nope,
colubrid
we lost
smart.
him.
Uh-oh.
And I
Hey,
know
we got
Dread popped up. I have not. I don't know a lot about Florida king snakes.
you've got a speckled king snake named
Yeah, I got a
Rodney.
speckled. He's pretty cool, but nothing like what
No,
Brandon's produced, no doubt.
we had a connection issue. We'll get him
Straight
back in
heat,
a we'll
yeah.
get him back in a second here.
Well, he said they had a storm, so
Yeah.
you don't know if they're still having some aftermath.
Hey, there he is. Let's get him
He
back to the
bet.
screen. Boom, 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 and
Hang
boom.
on, I sort of lost you guys.
Yep, that's all good. We just, me and Dred are good at chewing the fat, so we just,
We just keep going.
yeah, we got it. We know you had them storms, and it'll get figured out. It's all good, Sir Brandon. PJ's has got some Cal Kings getting up to size. I had colubrids back in the day, some, but I just was never as enthralled with them as constrictors. I don't know why. Dred, what are you looking at so intently?
Well, he's got this really cool picture of this chondro, the HY, the high yellow chondro.
Uh huh. Hey, there he is.
That's what I'm looking at.
He dropped back out.
One of his chondros on his IG page. It's like, whoa.
Oh, super high yellow.
Oh man, this thing is like blown away.
Yes, man, they are
June
so quick.
21 of 2024.
That's
He's
one
got
thing
a
I
line of them up. They're all up on the perch. There's what, one, two, three, might be four of them.
that's one thing I don't like about colubrids, and people will lambaste me for it. I'm sure. I'm gonna see about pulling up his page here.
I
Uh,
guess I wasn't aware. I knew he'd been into a few things, but I mean, wow. He is the true OG. He's the real OG.
yeah, it's really cool to
I mean,
see.
he got into that 93, what did he say, he was 19? So I graduated in 93 at 18. Right. So we're close. We're probably about the same age, within a
I'm
year,
looking to
plus or minus.
see. So I want to share on screen some of what you were pulling up,
Dude,
sir. I don't know if you must have been way back on the page. I really like this animal. Hey, there he is. He's back.
I went ahead and just got off my home Wi-Fi because this storm is beating us up right now.
the
Oh, is
best
it still
picture is
So
that
still going
Kamala,
on?
the Ugandan giant
yeah,
picture he's got on there.
yeah.
Man.
So I don't remember what we were talking about.
Oh, we dropped, and me and Dred were just BSing because we knew you'd be back. So we were just,
Okay.
hey, Jeff from Ball Let Balls made it. Thanks for rolling through. No, you were talking about the did you say super xanthic or hyperxanthic Florida King? That was
Yeah, the hyperxanthic Florida Kings. That was kind of at the time. No one really expected that that's what it was, but I sent that male that I had off to another breeder for breeding loan. He ended up proving it out to be recessive hyperxanthic. Um, so
Awesome.
I don't know. I've stumbled across a lot of really fortunate finds in my reptile career. Um, so I kind of count my blessings for all the unique animals that I've had a chance to work with.
yeah, but a credit to you. You sounds like you really immersed yourself in the culture, you know, in the community, and then that just kind of opens up opportunities. Not even that the animals had to be super expensive or anything. It's just like, oh hey, I got this weird looking snake. What do you take a look at it? Yeah, what do you want for it? I'll
Yeah,
take 100
yeah,
bucks. Okay, and then
yeah.
you realize a year later, like, holy shit, this is something new. So I mean, it just
Right,
you've
right.
been immersed in it for 33 years. You might have taken a little year break to refocus after getting burnout from a job like that. Makes sense. But man, I think it's been a really cool game plan, and credit to you for staying. I mean, that's how you find opportunity. Is just you just keep
hmm
you have to keep pounding the pavement, so to speak. And you were working the work and walking the walk. You were there.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I stumbled across the sandblast gene. To be honest, it was the original sandblast pewter female that I have. I still have her. She is 19 years old this year. Um, she was presented to me as a trade on a pair of pieds back when pewters were 7K. And the only reason I did it is because she was so unique at the time. There was no other pewters that I'd seen like her. So
Well, can we see her?
you
Is
know,
she easy to grab or no?
yeah,
Now I'm
she's,
hyped up. Pewter's been kind of. I want to see. Pewter isn't
Yeah, this is like the
cutting edge now,
original.
but
The
if this thing
original.
was that remarkable, and she's been around as part of the OG stock for him. That is so. I mean,
19
she
years.
is,
That's awesome.
she is in shed and as dirty as they could be right now. But she is a big girl.
Oh
she
yeah,
is.
I don't know if you can tell how big she is from
she's
the
big.
camera, but I want to say the last time I weighed her, she was about 4,600 grams.
Dang.
She's a big girl.
Forty six
Yeah.
hundred grams.
So how many years did you right produce eggs from her?
I still get eggs from her.
You still use
Uh,
them? Okay.
yeah, yeah. Her. I want to say the last clutch that she produced was 2 years ago. Um, but no, she's in great health. Um, I feed big girls about once every 2 to 3 weeks. I don't feed them every week. But yeah, I've got
What's her prey size? What's something that's I don't know of any
uh,
4,600 gram ball
she,
pythons. I've been up to like
she,
2,800, 3,200, but not that big. What do you feed her?
the big girls will get a large rat.
Okay.
You can't even see a medium in them. It makes no significant difference in a lump or anything like that.
Man, so you have an outlet for your retired breeders. I'm jealous.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
can't give them away.
I have I've got 20 going on 20-year old. Yeah, I've got 20-year-old pieds this year that they're 4 to 5,000 grams. They're pretty good sized girls.
Again, not many people hang on that long to have an
No.
animal in that possession to be able to tell this story. Most people don't even know this story because an animal hit in 15, 20 years, neglect along the way. Who
And
knows?
still
Like,
producing right, getting nice
that's
clutches out
awesome.
of them, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Marines
that
wants
is
to
awesome.
know is his pewter girl from her, the girl you were just holding?
Um, I would have to go back and look. I keep records on everything. I don't know if you
Oh,
can
index cards, my
see
man.
that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Old
it's
school.
got
Yes.
all. I've got index cards that go back 15 years on stuff in a filing cabinet.
Now I don't feel so crazy because
Yeah,
I keep 'em- I even trim these to make
yeah,
like a credit card size, so they fit in these cheap badge holders, and then I just stack them so I have a history
yeah,
and put them in the
yeah.
husband
That's what I do.
because then I can
I've
look
got a
back.
filing cabinet.
Yeah, I can fit a good
Yeah,
5 or 6 of them in there over time, but yeah, that way I can always walk up and see when they last ate, what was their last weight, and I'm like,
yeah,
boom, that's all I need to know.
yeah. I've got pedigrees for green tree pythons in a filing cabinet that go back 25 years.
That nobody's ever even looked at or seen.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice. Right.
Phil's about to come out of his skin over there. He can't wait to come see you.
yeah.
No, that's
I
so
gotta
cool,
go through that filing cabinet.
man. That
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
I didn't
Huh?
realize the
stacks and
time.
stacks.
That joker'd have a field day in there.
I'm
Yep,
so. That's right, Rep.
all the different clutches from some of these animals.
What's up, Santos? That's right, Rep. You did get one of
What
those.
up?
Some would say chondros. Yeah, Santos, you're going to go back and check the. Yeah, we
Yeah.
started out with chondros, carpondros, and talking about green trees in the '90s, man. When Brandon started that, so if you missed it, definitely hit the replay, gang. Rewind and be
Yeah,
kind.
I got my first green tree python in 1996 from Bob Clark,
Wow,
and it was a Bushmaster import.
everything was then. Yeah, it's the only way to get them. I mean,
But
there was very few out
yeah,
there.
yeah,
What part? That was a cool part of the frontier. Now, so you've got tortoises. We've talked about various snake species. Is there anything else that you've not conquered that you would? want to dabble in, even as a hobby, if not like a serious breeder? Is there any other species that you want to have just out of your pure enjoyment?
Oh gosh, so many. Um, I enjoy working with reptiles in general, and as far as different species, I used to think that tortoises were kind of boring animals, but they have so much personality and they're extremely social. Even with the keepers, they once they get to know your voice, they'll come to you like a dog.
What?
Oh
Um,
yeah. I
oh
had a
yeah,
big
yeah,
sulcata that was like he would follow you around. The boys was
yeah,
little and he was big enough. I mean, he was big, right? I was 225. He's big as my torso. They could ride
yeah,
him. They'd sit on his back, man. He'd walk around. They'd feed him like he was cool.
yeah. The redfoots, I really enjoy working with them. They're super awesome, intelligent, and again social. And like spring to fall, we keep our adults outside. We've got a 30 by 60 area that's
Hmm.
fenced off for them. They've got their own little concrete pool that they can get in and soak. I planted two mulberry trees in there like 3 years ago that are finally starting to produce berries this year. So they get all the treats they need. Um,
So
our,
what's a
our
high
tortoises
ambient like?
are
What's like the highest outside temp those redfoots could?
I mean, we keep them outside if it's hot, hot, because they don't get any like solid direct sunlight. They'll get about maybe an hour of spots of direct sunlight during the summertime, but really because they're a dense forest species, they don't
Okay,
get a lot of direct sunlight in the wild anyway.
that's what I'm asking. Okay, okay.
Hey, were
But
the
they've got they've got like a little hut that's up against our reptile building that gets cool air from underneath the building.
yeah?
So when it's really hot, they'll go back there and what they do is they'll find a dirt spot or they'll make one and they'll pee on it and they'll get it cool and they'll just kind of wiggle their way down in the
Yeah,
mud to cool off. They really like soaking in mud and getting
I
in the
bet you could
water.
raise them. I'm out here in Central Valley, Bakersfield, California. It gets pretty hot, right? We're 110
Yeah.
for 114 for right weeks, so it
Yeah, that's pretty hot.
that would be a little
We don't
excessive in my opinion for an animal like that.
yeah, we
You'd have
we
to
might
take
see
pay extra attention and have a really good setup to
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
we might see 100 degrees for a couple of weeks of summer,
Yep.
and it really doesn't bother them all that much. They soak, they get down in the mud, and we'll
Right.
spray them every day and give them cool water. They'll get in the water and soak and cool themselves off.
Yeah, my sulcata, he did fine. He would just go burrow back under the fruit trees and stuff, and it was always 15 degrees cooler under there. And
Yeah,
yeah, I'd set up misters and stuff just in case, and he was always fine.
yeah,
That's awesome.
He froze for a second, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, he froze on us a little bit. He's got bad weather going on, right? Like actively happening. And I do want to ask
yeah.
Santos a question. Oh, can you? I heard a little audio, a little bit. Yeah, I know those storms are kicking right now. Cell serve because he dropped off the home Wi-Fi just to do cell. We might have to go ahead and wrap here soon. I feel bad that he's put out a little bit to come do the interview with us. He got soaked on. Apparently, it's storming its ass off there. So
Yeah,
cell service
Can you
might.
guys hear me?
we
Yeah, I
can.
got your audio now. Your face is
Okay.
still frozen. Kind of a little creepy. Kind of looks like one of those like a horror movie. Like there's no eyes and no mouth, but it's a humanoid figure, and like that means something bad's gonna happen. Like I feel like there he's just frozen, staring at us.
Yeah, if you guys can hear me, go ahead and ask a question. I'll be
Oh, there
happy
you
That's
to
the
are. I
way
answer.
to
got
feel.
you.
Keep it
There's your
rolling.
audio. Hey, Santos wanted to know on the green tree python scene in the 90s. Was it any different than like what you import now? Does it was it any different as far as the animals that came available?
Yeah, it was actually.
Oh,
Um, Most of the animals, the quality animals that came in during that time came from Bushmaster. And Cameron had hired this Russian keeper named God, I want to say his name was Vladimir. I'm pretty sure.
I think that's right.
Um,
It's in Greg's
But
book.
he worked the farm for Cameron, and he was just had a green thumb for chondros and just understood the snakes and how to get them going, how to get them breeding, and he passed away. I want to say about 10 years ago, and since then, the quality of animals that are being imported is sort of kind of dropped off.
Wow.
You're getting a lot more wild caught stuff versus the farm bred stuff. Um, but and as far as numbers, I think at one point he was hatching around 1,000 babies a year, and each country would get a certain import quota from them, and you just don't see the numbers and the quality of animals anymore that you did, say, 15 or 20 years ago.
Hmm. I think in Indonesia, that whole market can export for the year 40,000. I think was the number they had, and I was looking into that.
Wow. Yeah, so it's gone up. It used to be significantly less than that.
And when it runs out, it runs out. So hit them
Yep.
Yeah.
while start looking in January. Kind of be ready for when the year. Because I don't know if they go through it that fast. I have no idea. I'd be guessing, but yeah, I wasn't aware up until that point, and it makes sense that there was export quotas on countries for the animals, well being. Yeah, and that makes sense. I didn't know that. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure with Indonesia, um, there was a lot of like twisting of you know the rules and bending of the rules, so to
yeah,
speak,
yes,
as far as what was captive bred and the different locales that could be exported and how many at each locale. And I don't remember all the specifics of it, but Cameron talked about it at one of the arboreal symposiums that we had, like back in 2007 or eight. Um, so I mean, it was there was a lot of red tape, but there was also seemed to be a lot of sort of under the table sort of stuff done to
yes,
get animals sent out and get things approved.
yep, yep. That seems to be kind of the case with that area, and I understand there's different people controlling exports now a bit than there was historically, but still tough on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Marines 911 wants to know about urban camo. How did you come up with that, and how did you come up with the name?
So the urban camo was a complete accidental byproduct. Um, my intended goal was I picked up the original Sandblast Pewter female in 2006, and I believe it was 2008. I paired her to pied, got hets, pewter het pieds out of that clutch. Of course, the three that hatched were all males, so I had no females to pair to. Um,
Hmm.
but I ended up breeding that particular male, one of those males, back to the mother, and out pops an urban camo. What I thought was a super pewter ended up being a sandblast sterling, and then a sandblast super pastel. So, at the time, that morph and all those combos were still sort of in their infancy. So I I thought I was looking at something other than what they actually were.
Hmm.
Um, and I raised those animals up, thinking that it was sort of a fluke. The first urban camo, I thought it was just a fluke animal. Produced two more in 2012. The first one was 2010. Um, Produced two more in 2012, and then more in 2013 from unrelated animals in that project. So I knew at that point it was something genetic. Um, I paired it with other genes, produced sandblast, pewter Mojaves. I've got sandblast, pastel Mojaves, um, gosh, just all sorts of new things that we did with it that at that point we knew that it was a genetic trait, and there was a lot of skepticism around it being part of the pied gene, but I've got non-het pied animals that are sandblast that really stand out from other projects.
Hmm. When was that you first made these animals available to people in the public? After, I mean, what time frame we talking?
The first ones that we made available were 2012.
Okay.
I think I sold one that year and kept another one back. But all in all, I think I've probably produced over the last 15 years, probably 50 or 60 of them. Um,
That's
I produced
still very low number.
banana, yeah, banana. Or it's not an easy combo to hit because it's sandblast, super cinnamon, pastel or super pastel, and het pied. So,
All right.
and I could say that I've produced more than that because I've also produced quite a few urban camo pieds, which are solid white. They're pretty underwhelming. They're kind of like a blue-eyed or black-eyed Lucy, solid white. How I can usually tell they're urban camos, and a lot of people say I'm crazy. That I think the behavior is genetic, but they're sort of assholes. They're kind of a shoot first, ask questions later animal.
Really?
They, yes, they bite quite a bit.
I've heard that about lace as well. White lace.
I don't work with lace, so but some of those genes, I think they just have it in them. All the cypress stuff that I produce has sort of poor attitude when it comes to being handled and being defensive. Um,
Mm.
you know, pinstripe is another one. All the pinstripe stuff I have is very defensive and quick to bite.
Hmm.
But yeah, urban camos are. I've got two female urban camo pieds that stand up like Western Diamondbacks. Every time I open their tubs, they're ready to go.
Well, you think they'd start to recognize you after a bit there, huh? Man,
You
that's
think?
wild.
Yeah,
See
maybe
such a
I don't know.
behavior.
Maybe it's me. Maybe they just don't like me.
That's wild.
Maybe their
Yeah.
medulla oblongata is broken.
Puzzle stay, man. Now we're starting to get. Now we're starting to name a lot of jeans. We got puzzle lace. We got the urban camos. The urban camo. The pieds. Now we're getting a list of I don't know, man. That's. I wonder if it's just animal specific. You're seeing it through generations though. When you say that, haven't
Yeah,
you? Yeah.
yeah.
So, are you gonna stay in ball pythons at the level you're at? Are you gonna be contracting your ball python efforts and get more focused, or expanding? What are you
Uh,
thinking about that one?
yeah, I'm going to contract a little bit on them and focus more on the projects that I really want to enjoy. I'm doing more stuff with blackhead. Like I
Mhm.
produced blackhead candy pieds this year that are just incredible looking. Um, still working with Suma pieds quite a bit, getting
Yeah.
blackhead and GHI in those. Trying to get that super dark, um, obsidian black and white ball python.
Yes. Yeah, we got a Suma fan, Lynn, in the audience. But Marines Line One wants to see his girl he sent you that you got eaten again for him. He says they miss her. They want to see her.
Yeah. Do you want me to go get her real fast?
Yeah, if you got a sec. Marines
Yeah.
is he's the one that brought you to my attention, so I feel like I
Yep.
owe him the duty.
Yep.
Let's see
Give
his
me
girl.
just 1 second.
There you go. Amanda's here from TikTok as well.
This is pretty good, man. The TikTok crowd is slowly coming.
Thanks for coming
This is awesome.
by. I
Thanks, Amanda.
appreciate it very much. It is cool. That's like a handful tonight. I think tonight's the
Yeah,
most
this is
TikTok
awesome,
people
guys.
that have
Thank
been in
you.
our lives and hung out with us for months. Marines. Oh, hold on, Marines. Let's give
Yeah,
him
he's
the
kind
big
of
smoke.
blurry because of his interference, but there it
Yep.
is.
She took a meal yesterday, so
Still looking good.
Yeah. So I thought she was going to bite me as I was getting her out.
Yeah.
Very
But yeah,
nice.
she's doing great here.
Oh, it's so
Sorry, Mill.
yeah, that's so that is frustrating. And I've heard that before, even about people's chondros. They got a designer they spend a fortune on. And won't eat, won't eat, won't eat. They ship it to a buddy they trust, and then it eats that night when it gets out of the box. I'm like,
Yeah,
what the hell?
yeah, yeah. And a lot of people recommend giving them a week to settle in after they're shipped, and I'm kind of the mentality of getting them established as soon as possible,
Me too.
and not giving them time to relax and get back into their routine.
Yeah.
I always say feed them whenever you're comfortable, but try to get them to take a meal as soon as you can.
Brandon, I seriously, literally do that. Remember, Dredd, I had a streak of 15 for 15 across 3 different species come in and eat on the first night they arrived.
He
15 in a
did.
row.
He did. I
And then I had
witnessed
one
it.
that broke me, and man, she damn near broke me, man. She didn't. I was assisting rat tails for a while. She just would not eat. Now she's doing good. I had to put her in a tiny little, like a butter tub. Like she was in like a adult shoebox, totally normal for her, 250-gram size. Now I put her in a kid's shoebox. She eats like a monster. It seems cruel, but
Yeah, yeah.
it works.
No,
She's eating
I
her in.
totally agree.
I got
You
tired.
know,
I mean, I did assist. I got what they like to call California deer mice. The furry little ones, and all kind live frozen, this, that, the other. She would not eat, and I was like, I'm not just going to keep doing the trauma of assist feeding. So I put her in a smaller
yeah,
tub. I mean, I did 3, 4 different substrate changes, hotter, cooler, brother, you name it. And finally, small tub, she started eating. But yeah, man, first
yeah,
night they don't eat. I'll leave them alone for 3 or 4, and then I'll try again. But I don't wait no week or two.
yeah. I don't either. And a lot of people that really don't know any better will say that it's a husbandry issue. It's not always a husbandry issue. Sometimes the animals, regardless of you know how perfect things are, they just go off feed. It's one of those things you'll learn that when you're working with enough animals, you get to see. Not every animal is going to behave the same way.
No. Oh, sorry for that first clutch being a bust, man. Exotic. Don't give up assisting balls or chondro tails. I like rat tails. I like an adult rat tail, and I use it. I chop it off and use it backwards because they can't regurgitate so much. They don't fight you, and it's
Yeah,
some nutrition. If it's someone that's eating like a weaned or a crawler or something, give them an adult rat tail. Give them. They can pipe down 2 of those things with very little trauma and force. I've never assisted
so,
chondro.
something else that helps in assist feeding is if you've got like a ball python or something, is take a like little bit bigger than a mouse fuzzy and like put its nose in egg yolk or egg like the egg fluid, and just it slides right in easy. And if you have to force feed, that's a good lubricant. It doesn't
Really?
get stuck. Yeah,
A little bit of egg white.
yep,
I'll
yep. A
be
little bit of
dang.
egg white, and it slides right down, and it gives them a little bit of protein to boot.
Sure. All right, Amanda. Thanks for rolling through. Good luck at the baseball game.
See, there you go, right there, Phil. You could use a little bit of Da Vinci in that egg yolk, dip your right,
Yep.
boom. It's a
Yeah,
win-win
some
all
of
the way
those I do
around.
consistently soak, and like one of them did turn around with some time, and she was just a pain. I just was more hands off in a smaller tub, and now she's turned on. She's doing good. So it took months though, months and months. But
Yeah, sometimes those tiny tubs work wonders.
oh yeah, Amanda, that one dropped a lot of weight. Sounds like 74 to 54 grams. Yeah, that definitely gets you worried when they first start losing weight. That's a little bitty animal, 54 grams. That's tiny. Is your storm still rocking and rolling there? Can you hear it, or are you
It,
down? Are you
yeah,
downstairs?
it is. No, it's thundering.
Mm.
it's crazy. They said it was supposed to clear out this morning and not rain for the until next week. And sure enough, thunderstorms rolled in about 5 o'clock, and they've been nonstop. I think we
Wow.
probably had about 15 inches of rain in the last month.
Yeah, my mom in St. Louis said that they broke a 130-year-old record with the amount of rain they got in April.
Yeah,
130
yeah, it's
years.
crazy. Yeah.
You ever use a non-flavored yogurt? Or I would think a clear egg white would be less. I don't know, more predictable. I guess would be the best way to say it.
Yeah, I would.
A
Me
no
too.
flavored yogurt.
I've used yogurt on animals that have been regurging just to try and kind of balance out the gut bacteria and
Oh,
get a little bit more protein in it. But as far as force feeding or assist feeding, I've never tried it that way.
would you like inject a feeder like a frozen thawed? Inject it with like some kind of
Yeah,
non flavored, no, no fat, whatever Greek yogurt or something like
yeah,
that
yep,
for the nitrobacter. Okay,
yep.
interesting. Yeah, someone messaged me actually just yesterday about having a Colombian rainbow boa regurged once, waited a few weeks, and then ate, regurged. Now they've waited a couple months, and now it's regurged again. And I'm like, man, that sounds like
Mm,
a vet type. I
Yeah,
don't have any
yeah,
miracle
that's an
solution.
issue.
Yeah, made me a little worried.
yeah. Unfortunately, the problem with most vets is they really don't know either.
Right.
There's only a couple of like really good reptile vets in the country.
Yeah.
Most of them are just kind of taking a shot in the dark.
Hopefully we'll know one. Krista, Sunday night's Trap Talk host. She Neurophi Exotics. She has now. I think she took a job or post grad. She was a research veterinary. She wasn't like to see Fluffy and Muffy in the clinic and give it heartworm medicine. She was doing like research lab type post grad vet stuff. Now
Mm-hmm.
I think she's finally done with that. I think she's taken her growing up job. I think it's in Florida. I'm not sure. I have to check in with her, but she's a vet that is obviously a giant, enthusiast and breeder of ball pythons. I got her started. I got her hooked on chondros. She's got her first chondro. She's a
That's
leopard
what we
gecko,
need.
established leopard gecko breeder. So I'm hoping she can be a really great resource as a reptile vet person.
Yeah, that's what we need as a community is somebody that is involved in the community.
How many times on are you trying before a pinky rat? I've assist fed a few times now. I usually can give them 10 to 14 days between trials. That's just me though. I don't know what you say, Brandon.
Yeah, I usually give them about 2 weeks, and then I'll try to feed them on their own again.
On their own.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, like I try to let them take the meal on their own.
Yep.
Again, in my experience, live hoppers have always gotten the best response.
Yep. Let's see. Do you now in your state are ASFs legal or no?
Yes, they are.
Are they? Nice, nice. Well,
Yeah,
that seems to
I
be
don't
cracking
breed
down
them.
a lot.
I breed my own rat. Don't work with ASFs.
Yeah, you do your own rodent supply?
Yeah,
Yeah, me too. I struggle. I'm still trying to.
You have to. You have to. If you have
yeah.
more than 10 snakes, you have to.
I've got a 10 by 16 building that I built specifically for rats and
That's kind of what
mice.
I'm looking for too.
That's awesome.
Let me turn this
Yeah.
thermostat down. My AC is like just rocking. I am freezing to death. I'll be right back.
Yeah,
I'm
I'd
the
like to
opposite.
expand mine. My production a bit, right? I'm still growing it. I hooked up with a feed store. He's like, man, bring me all you can bring me because my guy can't keep up and I can't keep up either. So
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
right.
that's the
I mean, if I
problem.
can take him 60 every week or every other week, right, it's what I take him, and that's my goal. I'd like to be able to take him 100,
Yeah,
every week or every other week, whatever I can, get to work out. But you definitely have to have your own, and if you can move some of those animals right to offset all your stuff, then that's surely a way to
yeah.
do it.
That's kind of
Yeah,
what we do. Is I've got a couple of local people that I'll sell surplus to, and that kind of helps offset the cost of feed and
yeah,
bedding and all that stuff.
right on. Yeah,
Man, they had it
it
set at
is.
71 in this house, and when it says 71, it really means like 68, 67. My AC like rocks extra hard. I was wondering why it was so dang cold.
Well, it's about to be 101 out here in the next 2 days, so my AC probably won't stop.
Lucky you. Nah,
Saturday it'll be
we get
101.
yeah, you get some extreme heat. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, 400 a month feeding. Wow. Yeah, I have man, I have like 30 snakes, and I think what do I spend on feed? And I spend like 40 to $60 a month to feed the animals because that's just on rat supplies, bedding and food.
I spend 600 a month on rat feed and bedding.
Yeah, that's an operation. That's a lot. That's a big operation. But I think
yeah,
anyone that's really successful with reptiles or with snakes, I should say, is you got to be self sufficient to an extent.
Yeah.
Because if you need to go somewhere and buy some, pay full price, or buy frozen, or hit up a butt, whatever, you can. It's good to have backups, but you have to have some self sufficiency,
If I had to buy rodents, I'd be bankrupt.
right? Yeah. This is smells the only issue. I don't mind them otherwise. The rats are pretty cool, but
Yeah. Well, fortunately, I've got 5 acres, so my rat barn kind of sits at the, the back of the front half of my property. So, and it blows out the back end of the building. So we don't
nice.
really smell it. It's, you know, it's kind of hidden. So,
That's a win-win, brother. That's winning
yeah. It
yeah,
all the way
is.
around.
yeah,
Yeah, it is.
That is awesome. Where can people find you, Brandon? I know you and I communicate on Instagram. What are other avenues to find you? I know you vend Tinley, which is a really coveted spot, right? So
yeah.
tell us about that, when you vend, or where people can catch you.
Yeah, so we normally do the Midwest Reptile Show in Indianapolis at the State Fairgrounds. I think the next show is coming up June 9th. We do the local Evansville Reptile Show, Tinley. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. Whenever I get a chance to post on TikTok, we've been so busy lately that I just haven't had a chance to post or
Sure.
do many videos. And my really poor attempt at YouTube. Um, I need to get on the ball and post more videos. I've got a lot of cool stuff to kind of show off. And
Yeah. I think that kind of content, I'm better at the live stuff like this and let it be on YouTube after the fact. But doing the educational, hey, step by step videos, I feel like they're kind of hard
yeah,
on
I would agree.
YouTube.
I would agree.
Then you
I
got to go
think
back
they
and
almost
edit
have to
them.
be scripted out, and you have to sort of have a game plan going into it.
Yeah, and then I find shooting a series of short videos because then you can get in and chop off the beginning and the end of the video, and you can put them all together. But it
Yeah,
definitely is a little bit more work, I felt like, than doing other formats. YouTube is a little bit more of a commitment to make a good video product for sure.
yeah, I agree.
Right on. And Dred was over there looking at your morph market, so we can always find you there with what you have available as well.
Wolf Market. My website is pretty much outdated because we've moved so many animals in the last month or so, and I need to keep up on the website a little bit better, but it's just such a hassle to go in and edit everything, and it's through Wix, which is has been a good platform, but they change everything so often that every time I go in to edit the website, something new has changed, or they've taken something away, or added something else that I have to get used to messing with. Um, so I've sort of slacked off on our website, and I tend to stick to Morph Market just because it's easy and you know
Yeah, it's a
if
little
I
more work
have to
running a
upload,
website. We had one too, and we took it down after. I don't have anything available, so it's like she's like, It's a pain in the butt
it
unless
is.
you have the right platform." But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it was just easier just to focus on the morph market and then do the best you can. I'm horrible at social media, so anything you're doing is better than what I'm doing.
Yeah, I got really lucky, I guess, with Instagram, getting in early and sort of building the fan base there.
Okay.
Um, I've been on Facebook since before Instagram, and I want to say I don't have half the followers on Facebook as we do on Instagram.
Yeah. I find it's hit or miss. Some people do really well there, and then I just don't see the value. Like I don't even put any time into the Facebook side of it at all.
Nah,
But I don't. I'm not selling animals currently at the moment. So,
Yeah,
but then again, selling animals is against the rules on there. So it's just like,
right.
what's the point? You know, like
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
People do
really
well though.
just it's a platform to show stuff off, and if people, contact you looking for things, it's kind of a win-win. But like you said, they pretty much frown upon anything that has to do with selling animals or you know breeding animals for that matter.
Right. Yeah. 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 And then there's the people that are trolls that like to just be negative. They
Yeah,
just go around and just I feel like Facebook gets the comments get out of hand quickly. So
yeah,
I kind of
yeah,
watch from afar in a few groups, but
yeah. I do too. I stopped, interjecting in the group because the
you don't know
I think
nothing.
I've been
right?
doing this for 30 plus years. And, when I started out with ball pythons, back then we didn't have racks. They were just becoming a thing, and they were very expensive. So, I kept ball pythons in these massive 4 foot long cages, and, you know, they never ate. They it was like pulling teeth to get them to thrive in these cages. And then once racks became implemented, things got easy. Animals started eating
Hmm.
and started thriving.
What's
And
up,
I'm not saying that people can't keep a ball python in a 4 foot enclosure.
What's up, brother?
They can. I've done it myself, but it's a lot less practical,
Right.
in terms of the needs of the animals.
Yeah. And if they, cleaning the enclosure, if there's ever like mites or anything, it's just a nightmare. Tubs are so much
Yeah,
easier. Strip them out, bleach them. Just so much easier than dealing with trying to get everything out of the corners of an actual tote. Like an enclosure where there's silicone in corners. Lynn wants to see her snakes if possible. Well, I do need to wrap up, guys. But do you have Lynn said she's wanting to see the snakes she's getting from you if you had a moment?
I do. I can run and get them real fast. Give me
All
one
right,
second.
sir. I appreciate you. There you go, Lynn. We're gonna get to see your babies that are headed your way. Hopefully, your other new ones are doing well, Miss Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Dread, now what are you working on?
Oh, I'm looking at this urban camo het clown het pod he's got available. I'm thinking to send him a payment. I'm gonna just drop 55 and get it. That animal's sweet. He, no doubt, man, he has definitely produced some nice animals. No doubt.
Yeah, it's cool to see. I mean, just to see someone take a lane and own it. Not
Yeah,
really.
yeah, that right, and he's right, right. Too many people. When you see me doing it, I get scattered, and I'm trying to bring that back. There's probably some more I should probably just let go, so I can keep that focus on, like he says, because then it just gets too diluted if you don't.
That's Lynn's Sandblast Banana Sterling.
Nice,
There it is. I went back to your old comment, Lynn. I posted it again because I figured
super nice, Lynn.
that was a
Great
good.
pickup.
Got a couple more.
She's gonna have more snakes than you and me put together, Dread.
I think she does already.
Sumapide. He's in shed right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can see that on
Nice.
the yep. That's so cool. I do like them so much. I do. Yeah, the Sumapides they're great. It's a hard project to hit
Yeah.
and work. I feel like those are. Is that a Monstera plant?
This one here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is, and that's a pothos behind it. And I can't see the one around the back. My wife was big into plants too. They're all over out everywhere.
And this is the Suma cinnamon het pod.
Nice.
that het pied that'll be really striking. If it when she gets a chance to make some pies with that, that'd be really neat
Man, I
contrast.
got a nice cinnamon het pie over here that I'm gonna need something to put to. So I better start looking.
Very cool.
Very awesome.
And Breen's he got a banana sterling from you. Well, I'm glad to see folks that that just speaks volumes about your customer service and just who you are. People are coming out to hang out and see their animals. They're excited about it. Talk about what they got from you before. Like that's cool. You don't do that. You don't get that by being a butthead. So
Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate
clearly,
everybody that's taken the time and consideration to give us a shot and look at our animals and all the support that we've been given over the last 20 or 30 years.
that's
It's
awesome.
definitely exciting.
I'm impressed and humbled. Until I started digging, doing my homework, and looking at your IG, and I didn't real. I mean, I was aware of your ball python projects, and I didn't realize how very. I knew you kept other things, but I didn't realize you were so well versed in them, and that you were in the infancy stages of keeping chondros alive, and then the beginning world of designers and stuff. So that was so cool. So I'm definitely humbled to have you on the show today, and
Hey,
thanks,
I'm humbled to be here. I appreciate you, giving me the opportunity. It's been fun.
bro. We love variety, don't we, Dred? I mean, it's just really
Yeah,
great.
we'd rather have Roddy than right. That's how it all started. We just got sick of always ball pythons and said, let's do something different. And
Yeah, we
we
also keep
want we
creative
want to
about
hear all the different stuff.
yeah. And yeah,
Yeah,
and again, man, you're just so humble about the things you've created out there already. So thanks. It's definitely an example that younger breeders and people. I'm not a younger. I'm gonna say newer breeder. I'm as
Mhm.
old as shit too, but I know that there's still plenty of lessons to learn. So I hope someone can watch this tonight and
That,
learn a lesson from you.
I learn something new all the time about these animals, and
Thanks
that's
for your
that's kind
help,
of the key.
Marines.
Um, I always said it's not about me; it's about them. They're the best teachers we have.
Yeah, they are.
yeah.
Learn how to read your animal and just do as much research as you can and keep your ears open. So. And once you do it for 30 years, then you'll have a little bit of a handle on it as well. Maybe that's the lesson is patience, sticking with it.
Exactly. Yeah. I always tell people if they're not doing what you want them to do, that's because they do what they want, and you can hope in one hand and
The
shit in
other,
the
and
other.
yeah, see what happens first. Right.
That is right. All right, guys, I'm gonna play our music out, get us off screen here. Brandon,
Excellent show, man. This was great. Guys, thanks for hanging with us tonight. We appreciate it. Brandon was awesome guest. Welcome back to the Naughty Business Campfire anytime he wants. You guys just the same, y'all know
great
what we
show,
do.
great show, great steady viewership tonight, man.
Yeah, it
Thanks
was.
everybody for
This was
taking the
man,
time
this
to
was
come out and
awesome.
see it. And
Awesome.
all
I'm
the
just still in
TikTok.
awe of just what he works with and what he's done. I mean, you know me, I get flabbergasted like,
Yeah,
start drilling
yeah.
and shit over here. Look at these animals. And
Right
again,
on,
y'all,
Lynn.
right?
Marines, have
Y'all
a
know
good
the
night.
TikTok Naughty Nation crowd. We're on TikTok, still hanging out as we can. I'm trying to bring Wednesdays. Let me advertise this: a little reptile roundup. I'm trying to bring a Wednesday hangout back on TikTok
I gotcha.
for us. Just because I think it's needed and the best I can do. So you guys support us
Yeah.
over there as well, and we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Right on, Dred. Appreciate that. Thanks for all the virtual high fives and great show comments, guys. Love you. Appreciate you. Dred, you ready to get out?
Let's do it, bro.
I'm gonna go look at a place about a man, see a horse, about a man about a horse, something like that. See you guys. There's Dread.